This is Pick One, Pack One with everything you need to start your draft off right. I'm one of your hosts, Paul, here with my co-host, Gavin McKay.
Hey, how you doing? Paul?
Gavin, I'm great. I'm really excited for this episode.
Yeah, so this episode we're going to call Ruling the Skies of Tarkir because we have a special guest that we can't wait to introduce you to. But before we get to that, we want to kick things off with a recurring segment we like to call Lane Change. What do we mean when we say lane change, Paul?
Gavin, a lane change is when you're starting out drafting one color combination or strategy, and a pick comes along that blows your mind. It just causes you to drop what you're drafting and head in a different direction. It's usually later in a draft. It's going to typically be past the first 5 picks of pack 1, where you're just starting to take the best cards that come to you. You know, those first 5 picks, you're kind of just taking all the good stuff. This is like late pack 1, early to mid pack 2. You're starting to sort of find a direction and solidify what you're trying to do. And then all of a sudden, something huge drops in your lap, and
or even pack 3, pick 1.
You've drafted.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So this is a card that completely shifts the way that you're planning your draft. Even if you're not rowing in that direction, you still want to be putting this card in your deck because it's a 1-card win condition, or it's something that statistically will win you more games if you pivot in that direction. The first one that we want to talk about here is a card that I've lost to quite a few times and would love to have one or more in my deck. It's Ureni, the Song Unending. Do you want to talk about this card, Paul? Give us the description.
Yeah, so Ureni is an 8-mana legendary spirit dragon. It's 5 green, blue, red, so it's in the Teamer colors. It is a 10/10. And if an 8-mana flying 10/10 was not already exciting enough, I'm already kind of on board for something like that. It has protection from white, but wait, there's more. It has protection from black, and when Ureni enters, it deals X damage divided as you choose among any number of target creatures and or planeswalkers your opponents control, where X is the number of lands you control. So assuming you're
minimum 8, basically.
Minimum 8, yeah. Assuming you didn't use some other mana dork or something. I hear there's a red mana dork in this set to ramp this out a turn early. Man, sign me up for this card. I'm in.
This card is basically a machine gun on a card. You basically play it and it mows down all of your opponent's stuff. It's a one-sided board wipe, and in limited, that will win you a lot of games.
Yeah, absolutely.
The other card that we considered for this in this set is Elspeth Stormslayer. 17 lands has one of has this as one of the best mythics in the set, or maybe the best mythic in the set, for good reason. If you see this card, even in your third pack, even if it's passed to you, it is very much a good chance that you should really take this card and do something with it. I know the double white splash might be difficult, but trying to make this card work will probably win you a lot more games than it'll lose you. So it's Elspeth Stormslayer. It's 3 and 2 white for a legendary planeswalker, Elspeth. If one or more tokens would be created under your control, twice as many of those tokens are created instead. So automatically a doubling season effect. And then it has 3 fantastic planeswalker loyalty abilities of a +1 to create a 1/1 white soldier token. Hint, it's 2 white soldier tokens because of her static ability. Then 0, you put a 1/1 counter on each creature you control. Those creatures gain flying until your next turn. Note it says your next turn, so during your opponent's turn, all of your creatures will still have flying. And then a -3 of destroy target creature an opponent controls with mana value 3 or greater. So this will deal with any problematic threat. Unfortunately, it doesn't actually deal with Ureni, which is crazy, but it will deal with pretty much any other problematic creature, flyer, dragon, anything else that could really damage it. It protects itself by making tokens right away. It also protects itself by getting rid of the most problematic thing on your opponent's board. creature wise. And
Gavin,
then
it
it's
also just
also a
wins
win
you the game.
condition.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
also just wins you the game. The 0 should just be you win this game.
Yes, that's right. I mean, if you have even a little board presence, this is going to immediately swing. You almost kind of use it as a combat trick. Like it's almost like an overrun effect, but it also does so much more,
Yeah.
This card is busted. If you see it in pack 3, I would highly recommend switching your colors to white in some facility so that you can take advantage of this card. Even if you've never considered white before this point, it's just that good.
Yeah.
So that was the lane change. And I'm really excited now
Follow those
because
signals.
yeah, you have to. Sorry. There's a point where some players will like see a card like this, and they'll say, "Oh, I already have a Mardu deck, or I already have, a Sultai deck, and none of these colors really overlap, or I'm not really enticed to take this card." But these bombs make it worth it.
Yeah.
In the most recent draft that I was in, I got tied into Sultai, but Abzan was so open. It's always better to have a cohesive pile of cards than something that's not cohesive. But there are certain cards that make you just turn the table right around.
Yeah.
And so if you even see it in your local drafts, at tabletop or another local game store, even if you don't end up playing it in the end because you don't get there with the fixing or you don't get there with your playables, you still get to kind of hate draft it so your opponents don't get to play it against you.
Yeah. And keep in mind, Gavin, too, that I always like to say if you hate draft hard enough, you're not hate drafting anymore, you're just drafting. If you see the good card, take the good card. And this doesn't have to be an insane mythic dragon or planeswalker. If you've got a ho-hum deck and all of a sudden there's an exhale that shows up that's not in your colors, that's a sign
Maybe that's the lane.
that's the lane you should probably be moving into, and you should be abandoning one or more of the colors in your ho-hum pile and really moving into something that's going to set you up for better results.
Yeah. So that was the lane change. We're moving on now to our main segment. I'm very excited for this because this person has been a really close friend of mine, and he's a former Pro Tour competitor who took a hiatus for a little while, and now he's back to greatness. I will let his record speak for himself, but he's a really great friend of the pod. We're so excited to have him with us. Will Hogan. How you doing, Will?
Good. Thank you so much for having me, everybody. Appreciate it.
Yeah, dude. Thank you for coming on. Yeah.
So a little bit about me. I started playing Magic back in 2001. 7th edition was the first physical cards that I actually received myself. There was some of us, I'm sure, Paul, you remember this. There was a starter kit. Came with a CD that you could put in your computer. I still have my original foil rocks promo from it, but I always collected cards. I thought they were really cool. My best friend's brother played, so we played a lot of table kitchen Magic. I still own some of the Ice Age cards he gave me, which were garbage at the time, but I thought they were so cool.
Some of them still are garbage.
Yeah. Most of them still are garbage. But I started really picking up playing during Onslaught Block. I lived in New Jersey. There was an actual Wizards of the Coast store in New Jersey. And that's where I met a lot of my friends from my early 20s that I played with. And then it just went from there. I played Magic pretty regularly for a long time. Most notably, which is most likely why you have invited me on the podcast, I qualified for Pro Tour Fate Reforged through Cons Block. And I went to that Pro Tour day 2, and I ended, I believe, 84th place.
So, wow. Nice. That's just absolutely incredible. So you basically at the height of your Magic career, Cons of Tarkir was your bread and butter, the original kind of place where we got all these iconic names of Mardu and Sultai and these 3-color clans. So how does it feel like going back there after all this time? It's been over 10 years. So is it nostalgic for you?
Yeah, for sure, absolutely. I mean, I was really excited to see Invasion of Tarkir in March of the Machines, and I
Mm-hmm.
just felt like I knew. I've always been partial to wedge sets.
Mm.
I absolutely adored Alara block. It was one of my favorite blocks. New Capetta was amazing. Unfortunately, after the Pro Tour, I did take a hiatus, so I didn't actually play Ikoria, but everything I've seen from that, done some online drafts, some throwback drafts, it's a lot of fun. Wedge sets are, I really find a home, and I feel very comfortable in wedge sets. So, yeah, I
Why do
was
you think
very
that
excited
is?
to hear back. I just really like. I just want to play all the colors. I am notorious for just splashing, like whatever, you know. Oh, I got some fixing here.
Yeah,
Don't mind me playing 3-color Bloomburrow decks. Like that's just how I feel like it. It's like I don't know. I have it, so like I'll play it. It is what it is.
yeah.
I mean, obviously it's working for you. How are you doing so far with this set? How's your record been?
In person, I am undefeated in Dragonstorm. That includes the pre-release and the tournament since then.
That is very impressive. Obviously, this set is difficult, and I think newer players are often intimidated by these three color sets because it's a lot to take in. Do you have any advice for somebody who's trying to get into this kind of three color soup, or are having trouble counting how many lands they need to have of each color, or any advice for newer players who are getting into um, this kind of thing that made you fall in love with Magic?
Yeah, I mean, if you have never experienced a wedge set, which is the 3-color sets, my advice for somebody first starting off, maybe they're newer to drafting or they're newer to wedge sets in general, is to focus on a primary and a secondary color, and then focus on a splash color.
Hmm.
Typically, what I'll do is I did draft an Abzan deck that has 2 white pips because I
Hmm.
just got all the white stuff. I'm mainly green, my secondary color is black, and I'm splashing white.
Hmm.
That is the easiest way to start to get used to playing 3 colors, especially if you're drafting. The previous sets we've had before this, I think Aether Drift was a little bit of exception, but before that was Foundations. Before that was Duskmorn and Bloomborough. I think those sets were really honed in on 2 colors, especially specifically Bloomborough was very difficult to splash third color. Ill advised, I did it anyway, but it's ill advised for sure. But I think focusing on that main color that you really want to go so that you can look for those, your main color's green, say you're playing Teamer, you really want to look for those green blue lands, those green lead lands, just so that you have your primary color intact, and then you can focus on the other two. Decide at the end, do I have enough for one? Should I just start cutting my, mono blue cards to just kind of hone in and make sure that that land base is good, because people will find as they draft these that if you don't have fixing, 3-color wedge sets are real difficult.
Yeah. Would you
Wow. Well,
say a
that's
lot
really
of
sage
this?
advice.
Would you say that a lot of your approach to this format is similar to how you draft overall, or regardless of the set, or what would you say is the difference? Like, talk us through drafting this Tarkir Dragonstorm set versus something like Aether Drift that you brought up, where we just were.
Yeah, I mean, I think power creep is really a thing in Magic. Typically, we see those in, I think you guys would agree, we'd see those in Ravnica sets. That's really the marker for where cards start to uptick historically in Magic. I think that didn't really happen during Murders of Karlov Manor. We did see a bit
Not
of a spike.
Markov.
Markov, whatever.
You were
It's
right.
Karlov.
You were right. The whole internet
The
is always wrong about it, but you had it right.
the clue set.
Yeah,
But as we progressed through, I think there were some really powerful things in Duskmore, and that set was very spiky. But I think this set specifically is very powerful. There are very few cards where I would look at and be like, "This is a dead card. I'm not playing this card." I would never play this card, right? So I think the difference here is that there's a lot of options. I find that when I finish drafting in this set specifically, I have really a big difficulty making cuts because realistically, 99% of my pile is playable. It's just a
yeah,
matter of like, okay, well, how much fixing I have, which is why I tend to just kind of cut a color. I'm like, all right, I don't really have a lot of fixing X white. I'm just going to cut most of the white stuff. I'll just splash the good things.
Okay.
I feel like this set is chock full of playable cards, and there's not really a lot of draft chaff going on.
Would you say that this is more similar to like a cube experience where you know you're going to end up with enough playable cards, and so therefore you can kind of, I don't want to say do what you want, but if you wanted to force a certain color or a certain concept, is it easier to do that?
I think so. I think it depends upon how and when you're drafting things. Obviously, there's two ways you could do it. You could just draft all the fixing in the beginning and go, I'm open. Or you can really hone in on a shard, let's say Mardu, and just kind of roll the dice and hope that you get your fixing towards the end of pack 2 and most of pack 3. The detriment of pack 1 doing all the fixing in the beginning is that, you're passing a lot of good stuff and you're just kind of throwing your hands up going, well, whatever gets to me in the end of pack 2 and pack 3 is what gets to me, but I can play it all. The detriment of doing it the opposite end of the spectrum is you kind of just got to hope that the lands are there. Because if not, you're going to have a really hard time. And you could get lucky, but I mean, there's no guarantee. So
Right.
there's definitely a happy medium, but I think there's probably a middle ground you can hit where, hey, this is common. I should probably just take this land at this point.
So because you're our guest on the show, this is something that we're going to do going forward. We wanted to do something special with you because you're a limited player and you're a drafter. We wanted to kind of just give you that experience of cracking a pack. So
Okay.
what we're going to do is I have a draftism window pulled up here that has a simulation of a pack that you could open. And I want you to go down and I want you to pick your pick one, pack one, and then any other notable cards or things that you would think you would want to go for or specific synergies. All right. So
Sounds great.
here we go.
While you're looking at this, Will, too, talk to us about, since a lot of our audience are also arena players and they're jamming a lot of drafts on arena, talk to us about how your evaluation might change when you're playing best of 1 versus best of 3 in paper.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know?
I mean, my first initial thought here is obviously there's a lot of good cards here. I mean, right? We're gonna Humbling Elder. We're gonna toss out, right?
Yeah.
SAG. We're gonna get rid of the strike. The 3 and a blue for the blue creature, the 1 and a white. Not that the strike is bad, but again, that's kind of a little draft chat. I mean, Blooming Region is just, it's
This
so
one,
good.
the Bloom Vine region.
Yeah. Bloom Vine Region is just wonderful. I think that card is absolutely amazing, and I'd be happy to open it every time.
Yeah.
Awaken the Honored Dead is an excellent card. I think that card has a lot of potential and a lot of great decks. But if I'm pack 1, pick 1 in here, for sure I'm just taking the Regent. I could make an argument for the Awaken the Honored Dead. In addition, I could probably just ship those 2 cards and say to myself, hey, you know what? I'm going to have somebody else make this difficult decision, right? And I'm going to take the uncommon Blood Artist. I'm sorry, the name escapes me.
The Venerated Stormsinger.
Yeah, and just say, hey, you know what? This card is great. This card is wonderful, especially in a mobilized deck. I think this card is fantastic. If I'm looking at a best of 1 versus best of 3, I mean, I don't think my pick changes too much. Especially pack 1, pick 1. I think the cards are still the cards. If this was later on down the draft, right, and I wasn't in abs and coloring, or maybe, I had enough creatures, maybe I was looking for a little removal. Maybe we look at the Sarkhan's Resolve, maybe the Twin Bolt or the Exhale here, right, to come in and bring out of the board for, Twin Bolt's good against Just Guide deck. Sarkhan Resolve's great against a teamer deck.
So yeah, that's what I wanted to kind of talk to you about. I mean, there's a lot of very interesting cards here, and I think you're going to go with the powerful rare that you're opening up in pick 1 or pick 1, pack 1. But the thing is, you're also shipping these cards over to the person to your left, and there's a nice 3-color card here that also has the card that of the color you took, as well as another card that you would also first pick. So do you find any consideration for making this decision easier by picking a monocolored card over a tricolored card to start?
Absolutely. I mean, I think about some certain things in there. I mean, obviously, Bloombrine Regent is in what I think is one of the best colors. Two of the best shards, which is Teamer and Sultai.
Hmm.
I have a partial, a partial bias towards Sultai. Obviously, that's why I love the original Cons block. But again, I mean, if you're looking at this pack, right, and it's your pack one, pick one, and you say to yourself, I really just want to play something quick. I don't want my games to take too long. I want time between rounds. I think there's an argument we made here where you can pass that Regent, you can pass the Honored Dead, and you can just take the Storm. What is it? I'm sorry.
To mobilize the Stormslinger?
Venerated
Yeah,
Stormsinger.
yeah, I think there's an argument there to take that. I mean, even if you end up in Abzan, I mean, losing the Regent, but at the same time, you're passing to one really good rare and
Mm-hmm.
another really good. Yeah, they're two very good rares, and passing those there and saying to yourself, okay, well, I'm just going to take the black card because one, there's a lot of removal in black that I really want. Sure, you're
Mm-hmm.
passing the exhale, but it's a common. I'm going to let everybody else fight over the green cards. I'm just going to take this mono black card. I'm going to focus on that. I like this card a lot. That card can single handedly win you games surprisingly quickly.
And that's why you're 12-0.
Say you do
Thanks
take
for
the
that.
If this was me,
Stormsinger.
I would absolutely take the Regent. I just want everybody to be clear. But I'm saying that there is definitely an argument. There's personal preference here. I have wanted to just crush through best of one drafts, and there are times where I would absolutely take the Stormsinger.
So you take the Regent. What are you most hoping to wheel, assuming our three top picks that we just discussed are all gone? What do you want to see come back to you?
I think there are a lot of things in this pack that I'd be happy to see. I mean, obviously, the land is there. I think the exhale. I even think the crocodile's really good. I love that crocodile. It dies, and it just replaces itself on the board. It's
Yeah.
5 power. It trades with a lot of stuff. That Sarkhan's Resolve too. I mean, I know I talked about it being a board card. I think that card is main deckable. I think the card's actually really good.
It's funny that you say that because we just mentioned that in our last episode about removal, that this isn't really a combat trick. This is a dragon removal spell.
Most notably
This
is
is
that instant speed, which a
yeah,
lot of the quality removal in this format is not instant speed.
yeah.
I
It's
think
a break the glass.
yeah, that card says destroy target dragon, which is
It does.
amazing. I think it's like what 50 something cards in this format have flying.
Yeah, it's about
42.
33% of the set has flying.
Yeah. But even still, even if we didn't see any of that stuff, I mean, I think Fresh Start is not awful. I think in certain formats it's actually pretty good. I like Rescue Leopard. It's a big body, a lot of power, has a great effect. Just even trading for things is fine because you get to loot.
Yeah.
Things I don't want to see back, right? The Strike, the Stag, the Elder. But obviously, those are things we're going to see. And in the unique scenarios, those might be actually pretty good for you. We don't know. So.
That's great.
But
Well,
this
thank you
pack
for
is
doing
all
that.
around. This pack is pretty good.
This pack is stacked, and thank you so much for picking your favorite. We appreciate you because you have a great perspective, especially being from that cons block. That we think that you offer a really great take on a lot of this stuff. Moving on to kind of limited as a whole. Is there anything in this set or in sets that have been released recently that kind of define the set as a good format, or what have your favorite formats been or sets been in the last, I don't know, say 2 years?
I think this set I still need a little bit more time with. Obviously, I mean I'm nostalgic for Tarkir. If you're asking me what my favorite set to draft was in the last couple of sets, it's for sure Bloomburrow. I loved Bloomburrow so much. I thought it was really fun. The set prior to that is probably All Will Be One. I know it wasn't very fun for a lot of people. I enjoyed it very much. I thought it was very good. I liked the concept of oil counters. But this set is really fun to draft. I
Did
think
it meet
that
your expectations for a sequel to the OG Tarkir?
for sure. I think there's a lot of. I think the new mechanics are really good, and I think they're really well thought out. Door is an excellent mechanic. Mobilize is an excellent mechanic. I think the set is very balanced. I think there's no clear cut winner. I think people are sleeping on Jeskai by saying it's the worst color. are the worst wedge. I don't agree at all. I think personally the worst wedge is probably Abzan. But I mean, even then, by worst, I mean it's a marginal difference between that and arguably, I hate to say it, I think Mardu, but the set is very, very balanced. There's a lot of powerful cards. The combat is fun. And like I said before, there's not a lot of instant speed removal. So it's fun. I'm not worried about getting blown out by every single go for the throat that somebody drafted a comment. So
Yeah.
it did meet my expectations. Absolutely. I'm very happy with our return to Tarkir.
That's amazing. I'm glad that everything has been upgraded. They're keeping it new and fresh. I mean, with so much universes beyond content, it sometimes feels like Magic has started to move away from the original kind of voices of the game. With the fact that people are wearing cowboy hats or people are wearing detective coats or there's cars and everybody's doing a death race.
There's something to be said for dragons flying through the skies, nuking each other.
Yeah, it
Absolutely.
definitely meets that expectation for sure. Just as a general question, do you consider yourself more of a limited player or more of a constructed player, and do you have a preference for either?
I think I'm probably at heart a limited player.
Mm-hmm.
And I say that only, I know we'll probably talk about this a little later. Cube is the greatest format to ever exist, and it's the only format that should exist.
Yes.
Cube is wonderful.
Yes.
But again, I mean, I do play constructed formats. Again, we'll probably speak about that later, but I do probably lean a little bit more towards limited than I do constructed, for sure.
We're big Cube fans around here. If I had a shirt that said
The best format.
Big Cube
Do you have a
fan.
favorite Cube card?
Ooh, that's a good one. And it's going to sound so odd, but Luxodon Warhammer I include in every single one of my cubes. I refuse to let that card go. I don't care how many Behemoth Sledge they print. Luxodon Warhammer will be my favorite cube card of all time. Could open up a Soul Ring and a Luxodon Warhammer in the same bag. I'm taking a Luxodon Warhammer.
Classic. My personal favorite is anything that adds or messes with the draft itself. So like Booster Tutor, things like that. All the conspiracy ones.
Yeah,
so
those are really good.
I like the Librarian, the one that allows you to take two cards out of the pack. I got to do one of those in the not Chaos Cube.
I remember we were in the same draft together.
Yeah, the mystery booster too. It was so fun because it would just go right down the line.
Just on a small tangent, the reason that I really like Cube is because people build cubes. I know, Paul, you have your vanilla cube, which is excellent. I know Gavin has taken part. I have personally, I have a Chuck and I have a team draft cube, and then I have a commander cube. The reason that I like Cube so much is because it is somebody's personality poured into anywhere between 360 and 720 cards. It is somebody's perfect mesh of cards. It is the best parts of Commander mixed with the best parts of Limited, and that's why I like Cube so much.
Amen. Honestly, that is, we're huge Cube fans, and
I couldn't have been Paul's eyes right now. I see it. Paul's like, "That's a beautiful."
That was a beautiful description. I love
brought
that.
A tear to my eye. Honestly,
my favorite cube format of the ones that I've put together is actually the Chaos Cube that I built, because that's something that everyone who drafts it participates in the experience of curating the cube. So basically, there's only enough dedicated cards in the cube for 2 packs per player. And then we give every player in the draft, when they go to draft, we give them a sealed pack. And we randomize at what point in the draft everybody's opening the sealed pack. And then we build decks and we play. And at the end of that, each player picks their favorite 30 cards from what was in their pool. And that goes forward into the cube. And so it evolves every time we draft it. I think at some point I want to actually get a stamp, like a Pro Tour stamp kind of thing, and start putting stamps on things that have been like perennial favorites. But we're still trying to like balance and get to a cool format that everyone's happy with. It's still a little unbalanced, but we're getting there.
Do you know what drafting Cube gets you really good at? Lane changing.
Hey,
That's the segue right there.
Uh-huh.
Speaking of lane changing and cards in Tarkir Dragonstorm, the set that we're currently in, do you have any favorite cards or cards that really stick out to you as maybe undervalued or ones that you take maybe higher than others?
Yeah, I mean, I think so if we're in the instance of lane changing, for sure, absolutely. I mean, I think Sagu Wildling is one of my biggest markers for where my pod is at.
Hmm.
If I'm seeing a Saga Wildling fifth, sixth pick, that's a huge sign for me. I
Mm-hmm.
should be playing green, absolutely.
For
The
the folks
great,
that are at home that are just listening, I'm just going to read what the Sagu Wildling is in case they, aren't watching us on YouTube or whatever. So Sagu Wildling is a green dragon. It's 4 and a green for a creature dragon. It has flying, and when this creature enters, you gain 3 life. But it also has attached to it a sorcery omen called Roost Seek, which says search your library for a basic land card, reveal it, put it in your hand, and then shuffle. Also, shuffle this card back into your library.
yeah.
Go
The
ahead, Will.
3/3 body on the dragon you're not excited about. It's about the average of the dragons. But that Roost Seek is 1 mana.
yeah.
Fix your mana.
Also, in addition to later in the game, especially against aggressive strategies, gaining 3 life is not negligible at all.
Yeah.
Gaining 3 life means that the 1/3 menace shooting 1/1 at you get an extra turn to live. Three
Mhm.
3 life is not nothing to shake a stick at in this format. So
No.
I think seeing a Saga Wildling late, especially if you haven't really committed, again, if you're in Mardu and you've taken 3 Mardu cards, 4 Mardu cards in a row, you see Saga Wildling, if there's nothing else in the pack, and maybe you just take it. Maybe you consider yourself, all right, am I splash and red? Am I just playing like an Abs and Mardu build where I kind of get aggressive in the beginning? There's no real downside to taking this card, especially if there's nothing else worthy in the pack, right? If
Mm-hmm.
if you're signing between this and your 23rd card, just take this.
Hmm.
There's
Yeah.
nothing wrong with it.
The other thing that I have to say about this card that I really like is that it's a dragon, and dragons matter in this set, surprisingly. No, there's all of the enchantments that bounce back to your hand when you play a dragon. So this is a great payoff for that. And again, most of the dragon enchantments are going to be doing something that will advance your board state, whether it's making 2/2s, the white one, or drawing you cards as the blue one, or ramping you as the green one. I forget what the red one does. Oh, the red one. The red one's a discover
Cascade.
effect, right?
Cascade.
Cascade.
Yeah.
Cascade.
Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty disgusting when it hits.
Yeah. This
Imagine
is my
casting your
favorite
Rennie
common
off
in the
of
set,
Cascade.
probably. Gavin,
That's
this
crazy.
is probably my favorite common in the set, and it's partly because of what you're talking about here. Like, multicolored dragons is the nonsense that I want to do in this format when it's available to me.
And even if I don't go 7-0 or 3-0 in a paper draft, if I play my dragons and I get to play my dragons, it still feels good. And that is, to me, what a good format is all about. Even when you lose, you say you got to do a cool thing or you got to have an impactful game or maybe you got to cast your Rennie. Even if the rest of the draft goes poorly, you still got to do that really cool thing. And that's also, to me, a little bit of win. I mean, I'm very competitive. You guys both know that, but at least I
would
got to
never
do
have
something
guessed.
cool. All right. So, are there other cards that you think are noteworthy or ones that you wanted to talk about? I know you told us about a
Yeah,
few
I mean, I
beforehand.
know we talked about lane changing and things. I did want to touch on 2 cards that I thought were very worthy of splashing or bringing yourself in. Like these are kind of, well, I'm not sure where I'm playing. One is each. So Kin Tree Severance specifically. It is probably, in my opinion, one of the best removal in the format. It exiles, which is important. Mana value 3 or greater, which hits almost everything you need to hit. And arguably, you could play it in anything. I mean, it costs 6 mana and everything, but you can still play it in anything.
Yeah.
And 9 times out of 10, you're in at least one of these colors. So
Mhm.
worst case scenario, this thing costs you 5. But at instant
Right.
speed, exiling the target, that's very important. I think that's very, very good.
Well, if we were just talking about this as a 5 mana black, like 4 and a black removal spell in
Yeah.
pretty much any other format, like we'd be like, oh, that's a slam dunk. I would definitely play that removal in my deck. You know,
you would play that in Foundations. You play that here.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. Just for those listening at home, Kintry Severance is the hybrid, the two brid card in Sultai colors. So it's 2 in a white, 2 in a black, excuse me, Abzan colors. I don't know why I said Sultai. Maybe because that's the next card.
Someone didn't play original cons.
I'm the newest person at this table that has less experience with these clan blocks. So anyway, it's an instant exile target permanent with mana value 3 or greater. And so, when you're playing this, if this was any other set, it would be 4 in a black, and we would not even nobody would be undervaluing this card at all.
But Gavin, it gets better. Here it could be 4 in a green.
Could be 4 in a green.
Unheard of in Magic. 4 in a green, exile target permanent with mana value 3 or greater.
Or 3 mana.
I think the important thing to take away from this is that, specifically for the set, this is an instant speed removal. There is, short of the breaths, there's not a lot. And even some of the breaths are sorcery speed. I think one of them could be instant speed, but regardless.
Yeah. The red one.
And this exiles, which in this format specifically is actually pretty important, especially considering the next card we'll talk about. This is definitely something that's worthwhile, specifically, and it's a good segue. My other card that I would signal for, and I'm talking this because I think these are 3 of the best colors. I know I talked about Abzan being, in my opinion, one of the worst, but regardless, I think green-black in itself is very good. Blue-green, blue-black are very good. Lion Weight is an excellent card. You have your bomb, you have your big dragons, you throw them out, they're managed to get it. You say, hey, I'm going to get my dragon back, and I'm going to shoot your guy for 5. It is sorcery speed, but it's essentially a 2 for 1. Because I don't view this as the card. It's important to remember that when you're seeing stuff like this, you can't look at it as, well, I need a creature in the graveyard that's big enough power to get it back. Because realistically, you don't. You could get a 2/2 back, and you don't have to kill anything. But maybe you get your Lekper back, and you destroy their Oblivion Ring, or whatever it's called in the format, and you get your big guy back. This card is very versatile. It's in a great color combination. And this is one of those cards where if I'm, maybe Teamer, or I'm Abzan, or something like that, I might actually just pick this card up and see if I have the fixing for it, because this card is actually very, very valuable, at least to me, in my opinion. Like, this card really does a lot of work.
I think the thing that scares people about this card is, you're right, it says you have to have a creature in the graveyard. They're like, well, what if I don't have a creature in the graveyard? This card just rots in my hand, or whatever. Over the course of the game, you're going to have cards go to the graveyard. You're going to have creatures die in combat or get killed by a removal spell, and so, I've played this card before, and there's rarely a time where this is the floor of this card is just, get back a 2/2 and replay it. But sometimes that floor is good enough to just either stabilize you or 2 for 1. I mean, 2 for 1 is better than 0 for 0, you know?
Even if you get back a 2/2 and kill their 2/2, that's fine.
I think it's important for people to remember with cards like this, where it's like, well, I need a card in the graveyard. It's like, sure. Could you top deck this after they exile your graveyard? You have nothing? Sure, absolutely. That's the worst case scenario. Magic Christmas Land is you play your 10/10, and you shoot all their guys, they kill it, and you get it back again, and you kill their one guy. Sure. It's important to remember that cards that are restrictive shouldn't be looked at in a lens of, well, what if I don't have a creature? Because you should always remember that 9 times out of 10, you're going to have something to bring back. Even if it's nothing. You don't have to kill anything. You're still trading your card in to get another card. At very worst, you're just tapping 3 mana for nothing. But 9 times out of 10, you're going to gain value from this card. And with the added bonus of getting a lot of value, the floor of this card is very high, I believe. And the ceiling is so high. This card is very good, in my opinion. I think this card is very, very good. And I would play it. 9 out of 10 decks, I could play it.
The Amazing. 3 mana is deceptively good, it's again, like we were talking about with the hybrid Abzan removal spell. This is something you could see in another format, and it would probably cost 4 or 5 mana to do the same thing or something similar,
Absolutely.
you know?
And it's in
So,
colors where you're going to want this. You're
yeah,
milling yourself. You want your guys in the graveyard. You're
exactly.
going to want this card in a Soul Tide.
Yeah.
I mean, speaking of cards and value, are there any cards from original Tarkir that you have a special connection to, or I know you said we said earlier about power creep. I'm sure the cards back then were not as good as they are now, but is there anything that you have that you want to share?
I think on my original Conswalk, Archer's Parapet is probably my favorite card in existence. I loved this
You
card.
want to give this card a read, Will? I mean, it's your
Yeah,
card. Read
it's
it out.
one in a green for a 0/4 defender, but it has one in a black. Tap it. Each opponent loses 1 life.
Will 0/5 defender.
I'm
Even
sorry. I
better.
apologize.
0/5
0/5
defender.
defender.
And this is the thing. We were talking about 5 mana exile a thing. Back in OG Cons, you got 5 mana, give something -4/-4.
Mm-hmm.
This wall
This
just
card
laughs at
was
that.
fun story. We actually drafted this last January for my birthday. Everybody got together. We drafted Khans of Tarkir, and I decided I was going to Archer's Parapet Gavin to death.
And he
I
did.
drafted like 5 or 6 of them. I was like, this is the greatest card in existence. I only want this card.
I mean, I love the flavor text on this too. That every shaft is graven with a name from a kin tree, calling upon the spirits of ancestors to make it fly true.
Mm-hmm.
Every single one of those arrows had my name on it,
Yep.
and I died by 1,000 cuts.
It's fun because arguably, if Archer's Parapet was in this format, I would draft it. I would be like, this card is very good.
Of reach, probably, if it was in this format.
I don't know. I don't even think. I think just this card reprinted in Dragonstorm. I might just draft this card. I think this card is very good. Still, I mean, I'm a little biased, but you know.
I like that
I
the
think you're
parapet
onto
also has
something
an
because I think
arrow
straight up, look at
right here.
the red exhale, look at the black exhale. This
Yeah.
card laughs at those.
Gets around it.
Like the Mardu deck is going to have to 2-for-1 or possibly 3-for-1 themselves, depending on what they're attacking with, to take this down.
It's kind of crazy, actually, that you say that because there is an 0/3 uncommon in this set that tutors for either Dragonstorm Globe or Boulder Branch Dragon. That's an 0/3, and that's still a pretty good card in this format. So the 0 power, it's not a defender, but the 0 power cards still have some relevance even today. It's pretty good.
If you're drafting a specific type of deck, I think that card is fine. 0/3 is like pretty good, especially in this format with 2/1s with first strike on their turn running around. I think the card's pretty decent, especially because it just keeps giving you stuff. But
so when we're looking forward to the rest of this year, you know, obviously we have Final Fantasy coming up, we have Spider-Man coming up, Avatar: The Last Airbender, and then also our favorite, well, Paul's favorite, and I'm also very much coming around to it, the Space Odyssey set. Is it? What was it called again? Edge of Eternities, right?
Yeah.
The Edge of Eternity set, which is definitely giving me some Infinity / David Bowie vibes. Is there anything that you're really looking forward to and keep you engaged in Magic? I mean, obviously you're a Magic lifer. You've competed at every level of tournament and played for prizes and everything else. I mean, what keeps you coming back?
I mean, I just really like the game of Magic. I also just like card games in general. I played every card game there is under the sun. Magic.
Balatro?
Listen, I played the Harry Potter card game, okay? So.
Me too.
I think I know what I'm talking about. But I think Magic is unique in the sense where they do a really good job of keeping things fresh from set to set. I know there's been a lot of discourse around Universes Beyond. I don't agree with it. I think it's good to bring new people into the games. I think every kid who would never touch a Magic card before, but will touch it now because there's Spider-Man on the pack, I think that's great for the game. And I understand people who are a little wary of that. I get it. But at the end of the day, I don't want the game to die. I think Universes Beyond is very important for the game. sets I'm looking forward to, I mean, everything really. I'm just excited when a new set comes out. I want new cards. I want to have new experiences, especially in limited drafting. I loved Ether Drift, and then after a while, I was like, okay, I'm good now. Same thing happened with Magic. Every single draft format, I'm like, okay, I'm good now. I've drafted this for 6 to 8 weeks. I'd like something new now, please. Thank you. And that's just how I go about my life. Whatever Wizards choose to do is whatever Wizards choose to do.
What keeps you
As
coming
long as they
back
keep
to a
putting
set?
that.
Like
I
say
think
say a set is a throwback. Like what would pull you back into I want to draft this again, or I will
just
draft this forever as long as I can.
there's got to be some kind of novelty, right? Like I
Okay.
would draft Bloomborough every day of the week if I could. Just mostly because it's just like woodland critters, right? You're just playing with like, oh, here's my bats, right? I don't know. Just so odd to me. Like I know it was inspired by Redwall. I never read the books, but I think the concept is really fun. In addition to the play patterns were very fun as well. I think Bloomborough was a sneaky set for people because it is a highly technical set. There's a lot going on. The play patterns are very legit, and I think they were concealed in a cute little package. So people saw the set and were like, "Oh, it's like it's just like, dude, it's like I'm just gonna play a bunch of bunnies and I'm gonna be fine." It's like no, not really. There's like a lot of decisions on here. It might be very much of Neon Dynasty, where it was
Mm.
like
Okay.
there's
Totally.
small incremental growth where you're kind of snowballing over, and like every small decision you're making is just tacking on to be able to just overrun your opponent. I think Bloomborough is a very highly technical set. It just had that mask of like cute animals, so people didn't really realize that's what was going on.
Would you say
I just want
Bloomborough is a top
engagement.
5 set all time for you?
For sure, absolutely. Bloomberg
What's
was
the
top
rest of
five.
that set? What's the rest of that lineup look like?
Ooh, all right. Again, we're gonna go back. Alara is, and again, I mean, it's hard because I did a lot of 3 set drafting.
Hmm.
I mean, Khan's block was the last block that they did 3 set drafts in.
Yeah.
So I think that Alara is probably one of my favorite ones. Bloomberg is for sure up there. I really liked Foundations a lot. I thought
Mm.
Foundations was
Yeah.
an excellent take on a core set. I don't agree that it was an actual core set, but it was a very good take on a core set. Um, Uniquely so, I think original Zendikar block was like really, really fun too. I think that was super cool. It was the first time we ever saw the landfall mechanic. And then if I had to pick a fifth, honestly, Duskmorn. I think Duskmorn
Mm.
was an excellent set. I think that limited format was super fun. It was
Kind
very
of came out
much
of nowhere too, right?
yeah. I think what makes a good limited format is just the open viability of things. We look at things like Adventures of Forgotten Realms, where it was just like everyone was trying to force that red, black, steel, and sacrifice deck. That was like clearly cut the best deck in the format. If you get that deck, you just win every match. And I don't think it was like that with a lot of the sets I mentioned. I think
Mm.
engagement, uniqueness of abilities, right? I think that's why Dragonstorm is a big success. There's a lot of cool stuff you can do in this format.
Hmm.
A lot of the cards work together very well, keeps you engaged. You could just feel good about playing the cards because you're doing cool stuff, over and over again every turn. And I think that's probably what I really look for in a set is just like, what can I do in this set that makes you feel like, yeah, I drafted a really good deck, right?
Totally.
I really agree with your comparison. I never really had thought about before the comparison between Kamigawa, Neon Dynasty, and Bloomborough, but as you say that, it kind of
Mm-hmm.
clicks for me that kind of because I wasn't drafting. I was playing Magic around the times of Kamigawa Neon Dynasty, but I wasn't drafting at that time. And I recently did a draft, a flashback draft, with some friends, Ralph and Paul and everybody, and it was just eye opening to kind of go back there and really realize how
Yep.
good of a draft format it was because you're right. It's not like any card specifically was going to put you over the top. You had to craft a deck
Yep.
and they all of your cards had to do something for you and you had to maximize the value. I know Paul, Neon Dynasty is one of your favorite sets, so
Oh
maybe you
yeah.
can speak
That
to it more, but
that's a top 10 for me easily. I really like that it's very archetype specific, and there's not a lot of overlap in those archetypes. You kind of narrow in on what you want to do, and then you look for those cards that are specifically matter to you. Like, I was really big on the ninjas deck. I just want a ninjutsu in stuff. And then in your end of combat step, also still be ninjutsuing stuff and blowing people's mind when I'm doing shenanigans like that, because you
Meanwhile,
can.
just
And
like give
it's
me
fun.
every 5/3 samurai. This is huge, right? Just give me
Yeah.
every single one.
Imperial Oath it up.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the future of Magic is bright. Will, do you have any other thoughts or anything you want to share with our viewers about your experience with Tarkir, or any other kind of words of wisdom for those of you who are listening who want to get better at Magic and want to get to kind of a level that you've achieved, or are aspiring to be?
Yeah, I mean, I think the most important thing I can impart on somebody going through the journey of like, hey, I want to make it to the Pro Tour. I want to do really well. Um, Magic is a game. Games are meant to be fun. It is important that you remember that throughout your entire journey. It can get very frustrating when you lose, but at the end of the day, you want to make sure that you're still remembering that this is supposed to be fun. And if winning is fun to you, absolutely. But you got to remember that if you do lose, you got to learn from it.
Hmm.
And you can't beat yourself up over losing a whole bunch. It's the
Yeah.
beginning of a format. If you lose, if you go 0-3 for 4 weeks in a row, it is what it is, right? You got a bunch of cards, you had some fun, play all your rounds, learn from your mistakes, learn from your losses, talk to your opponent after the game, see what they felt, to talk to them, communicate with your friends, communicate with your play group, and just remember that at the end of the day, this game is supposed to be fun.
If you're not having fun while you're playing, maybe take a break, just cool off for a little bit, because I've been in a place where I've been on a losing streak and I've just been like, oh, Magic is so frustrating. I don't even know if I want to go to a Friday night Magic. And, I just sit with it for a second. I'm like, but I really love this game. I really like it. And, I am frustrated, but you know what? Getting back in that pod and seeing what you open, getting that rush of seeing those cards pass by and formulating the deck in your head, that's what keeps me coming back for sure. That's really great advice.
Yeah. For me, when I get burned out, it's always like, well, maybe it's time to switch and play another format. Maybe I need to get my friends together and get a cube draft going, or I need to play some Pauper or something. So I'm not stressing out about, oh, well, I drafted the best deck and my opponent held whatever. It's just you take a chill pill, you go do something fun with your friends, and you're
Play
still doing
Cube.
Magic. You're just doing a different flavor of Magic.
Play some Cube.
Yeah, good game
Cube
is
clears
supposed to be
all your
fun, and
woes.
people, it's easy to get frustrated, especially if you're like, I've been listening to this podcast. I've been, they told me what removal spells are great, but it's not an end all be all. And I think it's very important that people remember that like you will get better. It's just going to take time.
One of the things that I can speak to personally is, going to the store and meeting, some players. I started out playing back in the stores about 2.5 years ago, back right when All Will Be One you mentioned was coming out. And I remember, meeting you for the first time, and you were a good player. You were up from New Jersey. You just moved here, and you were a good player. And I aspired to be like that. And at first, I was really bad. I didn't know a lot of the mechanics. I didn't know the knowledge that you had or anything like that. But growing over these past 2.5, 2 years, I feel like I've gotten to be a much stronger player. And, that's been in part because of the competition that I've been playing against, but also because you just have to keep out going and not grinding necessarily, but, it's a game that every time you go out, even if you don't get the results you want, you can look back and say, hey, I made some good plays here, and this is what I can build on. I
That's a
still have
way.
my first 3-0 ever framed, because I was so proud of it. But it's one of those things, you'll always keep growing and always keep learning with limited.
But Gavin, you also really hit the point, is like, don't treat it like a grind. Think of it as like something that you practice,
Yeah.
it's like a practice. I don't want to say meditation because that's wrong, but it's like something that you do all the time and you make it part of your life and you get better at it just because you keep iterating on it. You keep doing it. Basketball players shoot thousands and thousands of free throws for that one game where it matters and they put it in, just keep iterating and just keep finding the fun is how I think of it.
Absolutely. Find your archer's parapet and keep shooting those arrows.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you, Will, so much for joining us.
Yeah.
We had a blast talking to you. We will definitely have you back on at some point here in the future. We love you as a guest, obviously. Hopefully it's not, 10 years between the two Tarkir sets. Hopefully it's a little sooner than that.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, thanks so much for having me. It was a lot of fun talking to you guys today. Magic has been the main portion of my life. I mean, the two of you, like you said, Gavin and I moved up here from New Jersey. Didn't really have any friends. I think Gavin and Paul, you two have been some of my really close personal friends that I've made up here. I'm very excited to be on the podcast. Thanks for inviting me. You two are excellent limited players, excellent Magic players. And I'm happy to be here just sharing my opinion and just trying to give some advice to people who are trying to get better. So again,
Amazing.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate you guys.
Of course. Well, that was Will Hogan. Thank you so much again for joining us. Paul, do you have any last thoughts?
Gavin, I think it's time to hop on the dragon and fly out of here.
Yeah, I think we're gonna have to move to our end step, pass the turn, and we'll catch you guys next week. Make sure you follow us on all of our socials, Blue Sky, YouTube, Spotify, and soon coming Apple Podcast as well. So make sure you check us out. Pick One Pack One Pod, all those socials, and we'll see you guys on the next one. Thanks for listening.
Cheers.